What's up guys, Benny here and welcome to today's Call of Duty Warzone video where we're going to be checking out the 7 most overpowered and broken guns in Call of Duty Warzone Season 5. I'm going to be taking you through all of them, giving you the best class setups so you know exactly what you should be using. And if you are new around here, take a second to hit that subscribe button, smash the thumbs up button as well, but let's get straight into it. So, the first broken overpowered gun we have right now in Warzone Season 5 is the Type 63, but not as an actual tac rifle, but as a close-range SMG. I honestly cannot believe that it's gone completely under the radar for so long, especially as we thought the DMR zone meta had died a death after the last wave of nerfs to the tactical rifles. But 6 months later, it's become one of the best close-range weapons in the entire game, and is quite frankly broken. Now, one of the reasons for this is its damage profile. It does 124 damage for a headshot and then 72 to the chest. What this means is you have a 3-shot kill potential as long as you make sure that you land at least 1 headshot, which at point-blank range is pretty easy to do. It's still fairly under the radar, but is a gun I reckon we're going to see start being used a lot more before Raven more than likely nerf it at close range, so you need to give it a go. So let's get into the class setup of the Type 63. First of all is the muzzle, where you're going to be using that regular silencer, because remember, we're using this at close range, so we need to make sure that it's as mobile as possible, and that faster aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed is going to help at close ranges. Next, the barrel you're going to go for is of 16.4-inch titanium for that increased fire rate, meaning you can just get more shots off, leading to a faster overall time to kill. Then what we also want next is the rear grip, where we go for that Groot elastic wrap to maximize that ADS speed. The laser, you go for that Tiger Team Spotlight. And then the stock, we go for the Spetsnaz PKM stock for faster aim walking movement speed and ADS firing move speed. It means that you feel a little bit like you're on ice skates when you're aiming down sights. Super helpful, and in that gameplay that you just saw, I was using that all the time. So make sure you've got that, and that is the best class setup for the Type 63. Next, a weapon class that has slotted itself back into the meta for the first time since the Bruin are the LMGs, and one that is also being massively underused right now and is ridiculously good, though a little bit harder to use, is the MG82. Having a fire rate of 930 rounds per minute with a 125 round mag size gives you amazing damage output potential, which is especially helpful in trios and quads. Now, though each bullet doesn't do a large amount of damage, with 35 for a headshot and 29 to the chest, it still gives you one of the fastest times to kill in the entire game and damage per mag. But remember, the gun is a lot harder to use, with a fair amount of recoil for a gun with such a high fire rate. So unless you're mounted, it's not going to dominate at long range, but mid-range, it's a different matter. It's also a really fun gun to use, so spend the time getting used to the recoil, and it's well worth it in the long run. So for the MG82 class setup, we're going to start off with the muzzle, where we go for that agency suppressor. Maximizing our damage at range is very, very important. Next, we've got the barrel, which is the 16.4 Task Force barrel. We then go for the underbarrel, which is the field agent grip. And the ammo is that 125 round mag, so you can take out multiple enemies super easily. And then the optic we go for is that actual arms 3 times, which is, in my opinion, the best optic in the game for most medium to long range weapons, as it's kind of snappy, does everything that you need it to. In some situations though, you can go ahead and use the 4 times, but that is the build that I use for the MG82. Our next broken gun has been banned from recent tournaments for a good reason, because at close range, it's unbeatable and doesn't actually require that much skill to use, and that's the Gallo shotgun. Like, honestly, it's just point blank ridiculous at how overpowered the Gallo is. You can take down multiple opponents out with ease, the only real negative being you can only have a maximum of 12 rounds at a time in the clip, and then the reload isn't too great. The advice I'd give you though, if you want to go ahead and run the Gallo, is if you're using auto tac sprint, remember to aim down sight and strafe into fights. Otherwise, non-tac sprint and mouse and keyboard players have the potential of getting the most out of the Gallo, as you'll be able to achieve the highest time to kill, as you won't need to come out of sprint. Also, when you're using the Gallo, aim assist isn't as big of a deal because it just mows down everything in close proximity. So let's get into the class setup for the Gallo. Now, first of all, I use the Warden's Word blueprint. Now, the reason I use that is, as you can see, you get a better iron sight. It's not that kind of circle which kind of blocks off your view. And as you're going to be kind of aim down sighting a lot of the time and strafing with this, that really does help. But first of all, the muzzle, you go for that agency choke, hands down the best one. The barrel is going to be that reinforced heavy because you get effective damage range increase and fire rate, which is incredibly helpful. The laser I then go for is the SOF target designator for that effective damage range increase and hip fire accuracy increase. And the only punishment is that flashlight visible to enemies, which is not a big deal whatsoever. The stock, I then go for the SAS combat stock because, as I said, I'm going to be aiming down sight a lot, so I want to be able to move as quickly as possible while ADSing to beat my enemies at close range and also go around corners pre-aiming. And then finally, the last attachment that you want is in the ammo, where you go for that Stagnag 12-round tube. And that right there is the best setup for the Gallo. Next, we have what has become the best SMG in Warzone, the Otus. This has the best time to kill and is what every pro player now runs in custom tournaments when deciding to use an SMG, which has sent it to the top of being one of the most overpowered guns in Warzone Season 5. Now, there are some things you'll need to take into account when using the Otus. One of its biggest downfalls is its mag size. You can only ever have 40 rounds in a single clip, which means that in modes like quads, you can sometimes find yourself getting overrun and not have enough time to reload and pick up the kills. So just always keep that in mind and try and break up your fights as much as possible, because dealing 45 damage for a head and neck shot and then 34 to the chest leads to some pretty fast kills. So it's now time for the best class setup for the Otus, the best SMG in Warzone right now. Gonna kick off with the GRU suppressor, that's sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. Then the barrel, you're gonna want that 8.1-inch task force for that strafe speed, bullet velocity, effective damage range increase. Then on the laser, we've got the Tiger Seam Spotlight. It's pretty standard for an SMG build right now. Then the stock, we go for the Spetsnaz stock. And you'll notice I use this a lot more now than I did recently because of how your like horizontal aim assist works. So when you're kind of rotating, like your rotational aim assist on your left thumbstick, while strafing, you can kind of help counter that horizontal recoil while using this stock a lot better than with the skeletal stock. So personally, I use that. And then the ammo is the VDV 40 round fast mag. You need this because it's such a small mag and you need to get those reloads off quickly, especially in trios and quads. But I love this SMG. Make sure you start using it. Next, we have one of my favorite guns in the game right now, and it's the Stoner. It's finally time for LMGs to shine in Warzone, but the Stoner may be a little bit too overpowered right now because it has no recoil whatsoever. It's also got a 120 round mag, ridiculous stopping power with 49 damage for a headshot and 33 to the chest. It really is the best gun in the game right now for medium to long range. The only negative with the Stoner is the mobility, but if you pair it with an SMG, you don't even need to worry about that, as you just switch to your SMG when you're moving around and not holding down a position. But if you're holding the gas and behind a piece of cover, you can just take down multiple players with ease and don't even need to reload because it's got a fairly steady fire rate of 719 rounds per minute, so you don't burn through your ammo. But honestly, it's my favorite gun in Warzone right now, and I think you'll see a lot more players like the Otus shift over to using it over a few of the other assault rifles, which only have a mobility advantage on the Stoner. And you don't need mobility when you can just mow down entire squads without any help. So it's time for the best class setup for the Stoner, my favorite gun in the game right now. The muzzle is that agency suppressor. The barrel is a 21.8-inch task force barrel. The underbarrel to help control the recoil is that field agent grip. Ammo, 120 round mag, so you can take out multiple people at a time without needing to reload. And then the optic I use is the Royal and Cross 4 times. And I mix up the reticle a bit, but like the precision reticle, one of the best out there. I absolutely love this setup. Make sure you give it a go. One of the most underrated guns in the game right now. But I've also got to include what is the best assault rifle in Warzone and one of the easiest guns to use because of a fast aim down sight speed and no recoil whatsoever. Anyone can use the Krig and land consistent body and headshots because those slight adjustments are so easy to do because there's just no recoil at all. But with 45 damage for a headshot and 33 to the chest, it does have a fairly similar damage profile to the Stoner in all honesty. Though with a slower fire rate, you're not going to get those really fast time to kills like you do with the Stoner. And with a 45 round mag, which you need to use for the best setup, you sadly do end up needing to reload an awful lot, which can cost you from time to time. But the Krig is the most overpowered assault rifle and is what everyone tends to use in tournaments, as against pro players, having that extra mobility can outweigh the stopping power and damage mag potential that the Stoner has. So it's time for my setup for the Krig. The muzzle is that agency suppressor. The barrel, we go for that 15-inch CMV mil-spec. The underbarrel is the field agent grip. Ammo, 45 round mags to maximize that aim down sight speed. And then we have the actual arms 3 times. Pretty much the setup that every competitive pro player is using right now in customs. And it's an absolute beast, so give it a go. But the most broken, overpowered weapon in Warzone in Season 5 is, of course, the Swiss sniper rifle. It's got everything you want with a sniper. It's got a very fast aim down sight speed. It's got very little flinch when you get shot, one of the fastest fire rates, and of course, that one-shot headshot kill potential that can completely change a fight if you manage to land it. Honestly, if the Swiss doesn't get nerfed at some point soon, I'm going to be really surprised because it makes using snipers like the Tundra, Pellington, and HDR completely pointless. Really, the only gun that can compete is the Kar 98K, but since the optic changes to the Swiss, I would say that doesn't even compete as you're able to set your gun up with 5 additional mobility and aiming stability attachments, which you can't do with the Kar 98. Also, I'm sure we can all admit, sniping is the most satisfying thing to do in the whole of Warzone, so you've just got to make sure you make the most out of it. And the most broken class setup is the Swiss K31. And we've got that muzzle is the GRU suppressor. The barrel is going to be the 24.9-inch combat recon. Then the underbarrel is the bruiser grip. Rear grip is going to be that serpent grip before we finish off with a SWAT 5MW laser. Loads of attachments giving aiming stability, ADS speeds, and all that good stuff. But hands down, most broken gun in the game. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and I'll see you next time for more Call of Duty Warzone.